Hello and welcome back to El Podo, the Primera REF show. 15 weeks into the season now, and we are starting to see some kind of semblance to a structure of the league table. It's been really, really exciting to watch some of the football this week, some absolutely dramatic moments. And to talk with me about them is the one and only Liam Bamridge. Liam, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad. You're right. Another really great set of fixtures this weekend, weren't there? Loads of goals, loads of late drama, loads of talking points, loads of benches trying to get yellow cards upgraded to red cards, which I really don't like. I don't want to start by moaning on about FES and refereeing decisions, but I find that really distasteful. I don't know about you, and there's quite a few of them this week.
Yes, it seemed to be a lot of gesticulating would be the word I would use, and a lot of uses of those what are they called? Are they like lifelines? Are they like trading cards or something like that? Not in the spirit of the game, I would possibly call it, Liam. I would certainly
Yeah, I
agree
totally
with
agree. I
you.
mean, I think there are certainly some plus sides to it, but I really don't like to see this, and it's happening more and more. I suppose you can't. Again, if you say people can appeal for whatever they like, then essentially that's okay, within the rules of what's being permitted. But I think this is something, again, we've talked about modifications. This is something I'd like to look at and get rid of.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, like you say, it needs to have a strict set of boundaries, maybe, and trying to get opposition players sent off for second bookings is possibly not the way to go. And I'm sure we'll come up against some of them throughout the matches that we talk about this evening. First bit of news, I think we broke this last week, but it was quite an interesting week for Alejandro Sandroni, who it was his first week in the dugout. Obviously, midweek, he had a successful win against Malaga, which I'll take to the heart, and then obviously a differing result this weekend, Liam.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we managed to get Diego Nogales out there before we recorded last week. I think we might have just done it. So yes, Androni, very interesting first few days. The highs and the lows of being a football coach. And talking of the Copa del Rey, we had some wins, didn't we, in this for Primera Federación sides against higher ranked opposition, and the prizes that they have managed to gain from winning those games are quite significant, are they not? Run us through some of them.
They are some absolutely, literally knockout ties here, Liam. Just to run through them, obviously yours and our favourite, Guadalajara. They knocked out Spanish Segunda side Ceuta in the midweek and reached the. So you've had to maybe like clip me on this before, Liam, and say it's the last 16, but it's not the last 16, is it? It's a bit of a weird one where for the first time in their history, they're in the last 16, but it's not the last 16.
They refer to it as 1/16 then, but what they mean by that, I think, is 16 games, basically. So it's actually the last 32. But yeah, they caught me out a few times over the last few seasons that actually we would refer to the last 16. We'd write last 16. They write 1/16. It actually means 16 games rather than 16 teams left. So yeah, last 32 is still great. And as you say, they knocked out Ceuta and they now play Barcelona. They knew they were going to get a big one, didn't they? And I suppose it get bigger than that. I suppose Real Madrid might have been bigger because it's just down the road. They just before this tie was drawn, they put out an offer for €80 half-season tickets, didn't they? And basically said, if you buy one of these €80 half-season tickets, I mean, let's put it into context, that's about 70 quid to watch half a season of football in Primera Federación. But of course, most people have been drawn to that by the possibility of being guaranteed a ticket for the whoever they got, and everyone knew they were going to get a big opponent, and they got, as I say, one of the two biggest of all. And needless to say, all those half-season tickets have been bought, and yeah, it's going to be a sellout.
Did you buy one?
Delighted.
Did you buy one, Liam?
I couldn't, unfortunately. I would love to have done so, because if it were on the Thursday night, this game, I could go, but I'd struggle to get on the Wednesday or the Tuesday. So I thought, I can't really. And I did think about it anyway, just because I thought, you know what, €80 is nothing, is it really? I'm probably going to see Guadalajara 2 or 3 times for the end of the season, so why not? Of course, by the time I finally made my mind up, then yeah, the website was broken. So yeah, and ultimately, I'm guessing it was broken mostly by people local to the area. And although it's a shame that they only turn out for this big game, then maybe a few at least will come back again after this game because they'll be encouraged by the whole experience. So yeah, me as a tourist traveling from England's not really a priority, but yeah, delighted for the club, of course. Also delighted, of course, for the other Primera RFEF sides that knew as soon as the round was finished, didn't they? Because enough Segunda sides got knocked out. I think Primera RFEF sides always knew that they were likely to get a La Liga side, didn't they? And of course they did. Real Murcia, Aldense, Talavera, and Orense. Let us know who those four are playing.
Yes, so Real Murcia saw Cadiz, and they'll get the reward of playing Real Betis at the Nueva Condamina. It's going to be a great little hotbed of football in the southeast of Spain that week, because Real Sociedad are going to be travelling to Elda to take on Aldense. They got a great win against Almeria in the cup. Talavera, we were just speaking about what it's like to be a manager for Alejandro Sandroni, beating Malaga in the cup. You lose at the weekend, but then you get Real Madrid in the draw as well, which I think is a really nice touch as well. Obviously, Talavera not too far from the capital, so it's going to be a really interesting game there. The one that's going to get me, though, Liam, is we do have our giant killers already in this tournament. We've had Orense bring Real Oviedo to Okutu. They brought Girona to Okutu. They beat them both, and now they bring one of the most legendary teams of all in the form of Athletic Club, which I think is actually the club I would like to have seen play at Orense this season as well. That's going to be a great game, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be brilliant. And of course, we've got to remember these games, of course, that they will not be a game that's included in the season ticket. So you're buying a season ticket and then you're probably paying a certain amount of money to get a ticket for that game as well. Of course, it'll be reduced because you're a season ticket holder, and of course they will sell the tickets to people who don't have any abono or anything for a lot of money. So we're not just talking here about a fantastic occasion in the club's history. We're talking about a massive financial injection that those well, certainly Talavera or Orense and Guadalajara will do really well out of this in terms of what their usual budget is. I think Real Murcia will do pretty well, as will Aldense, but perhaps not quite so frugal in terms of what they have to spend. So yeah, tremendous for all those clubs. And yeah, as you say, Orense incredible. And Cartagena was so close to getting through as well, weren't they? They had a penalty in the 119th minute to win it. It was saved, I think. De Blasis as well, usually pretty reliable on the spot. And then Valencia scored in the 120th minute. So very, very close Cartagena as well, but they went out. But yeah, great to see some giant killing acts going on there, and delighted, of course, that all those sides have got themselves a really big tie, because I think some of them knew they would. I think Orense is the lowest ranked team in the competition, knew they get one of those big four sides. I think Guadalajara did as well, but I'm not sure how it works apart from that. And certainly, I think it would have been possible for teams below Segunda to have ended up, because of course there's also a couple of teams, isn't there, below Primera Federación that have got through, Atletico Baleares, for instance. So yeah, it was great that some Primera RFEF sides got a real plum tie, and they will obviously look forward to what will be a historic occasion for them.
It is, and if anyone would like to talk to us about, who Real Madrid or Barcelona will be facing and wants to know some more information, come to the home of Primera Federación Football. It's El Podo. You could just drop us a DM and we'll be happy to talk you through all these wonderful teams you're going to be facing, and hopefully we see a bloody nose given to one of them. I'd love to see Orense go on and do it again, because they did this last year, didn't they? They're Copa del Rey specialists at the moment, and they're having quite the season in terms of turning around. Speaking of which, Liam, shall we talk about some Grupo Uno games?
Yeah, we're going to mention Orense, but not in quite such a positive light from their perspective, but it was still a cracking game, wasn't it, when they went to Merida this weekend? I think it ended Merida 3, Orense 2, didn't it? Tell us a bit more about the game. Tell us a bit more about the build-up to the game as well, even perhaps the warm-up before the game. A lot of noise coming out of the grounds at Merida. Why was there so much whistling and jeering, and why were the police on the pitch looking rather worried at some stage?
Yeah, it was quite the controversial start, I would say, Liam, in terms of when the referee was announced for this game. It was let's say, a familiar face. It was Camacho Garot. He was the referee who refed the playoff semi-final, if I remember rightly, against Real Sociedad B, who basically just, shall we say, Liam, missed all the fouls and all the handballs and things like that. That basically, Merida and Merida fans rightly thought we've been, pretty harsh done by here because the referees missed all these opportunities. It's a story of what could have been if, that foul on Liberto Beltran would have been given as a penalty, for example. It was that guy, and he didn't receive a warm welcome, did he?
It's interesting because in a different show that I recorded this week, a Patreon special that we recorded for our listeners on the Espana Segunda show, we talked about sliding doors moments this weekend. And what's really interesting about this one as well is that you wonder whether we'd even have FES without this, because I think some of the decisions that Senor Garrote made in that game was so bad that there was certainly talk of FES. And I think that probably so bad were those decisions, and you're quite right. The challenge on Beltran was an absolute stonewall penalty. I feel like if FES were possibly going to be introduced, but they weren't sure about it, this absolutely pushed the relevant people over the edge in such a big game to have so many poor decisions. But yeah, I just beggars belief that they could give Camacho Garrote a game so soon afterwards in Merida, and understanding the fans were very unhappy. And yeah, I think that there was quite a lot of tension, and I think they cut short their warm-up. It was reported to me that the officials went out and saw that we were getting a really hard time, and then thought, right, we'll better go back inside again quickly. But yeah, and let's talk about the game. And it was a cracking game, wasn't it?
It is. Though I did enjoy a little nudge on the ref I think it was from Benito, just as the game started, as if to say, "Oh, you're in my way. Sorry about that." But it looked like he got him just a little bit. The one person who I really need to talk about here is Luis Pareja. He just can't stop scoring at the minute, Liam. And it was him on the 21st minute who basically jaunted across both the defenders and the goalkeeper to latch onto the end of a deep cross, and basically left the Orense defenders dumbfounded. Nodded home. You said to me a couple of times he's not actually really Merida's starting centre back. He's maybe third or fourth down the list, but because of injuries and other such things, he's had a fair bit of game time recently. But I think this is his third, fourth goal of the season, which is not too bad for an aging centre back. The lead wouldn't last too long. I don't know if you saw this passage of play, Lee, but this is proper. This is when Primera RFEF can be at its top. A really nice passing move, which basically broke the offside trap for Merida. Guerrero basically slotted in behind the centre-backs, chipped over the goalkeeper, and it was a really nice finish. And both those goals say to me, this is the quality you're going to get from this game. It really set the tone in the first 20 minutes, didn't it?
Yeah, tremendous stuff. I thought that both sides played really, really well. I mean, Orense unrecognisable for the side, that struggled over the first few weeks of the season. They've been on such a good run, haven't they? They went behind again in this one. Berges, I think, put Merida back in front, didn't he? And it looked like it was going to be 2-1. And then it looked like it was going to be 2-2, because I think Fesor Moreno, didn't he, equalise really, really late on for the away side. But then, amazingly, Senor Garrote is quite funny. I spoke to a Merida fan after this via direct messages, and I said to him, okay then, so what do you make of this penalty and injury time from this ref that you bloody hate? And he was like, it's a modern day penalty. It's a modern day penalty. It was like, that's extremely diplomatic of you. What you're trying to say is this probably wasn't much of a penalty. Just describe what happened, because I actually think it was. But it is interesting that the referee was vilified before the game kicked off. Seemed slightly more popular after the game, should we say?
Yeah, it is one of those, isn't it, where I think once upon a time this probably wouldn't have been given. It would have been deemed as just a bit of a clash in midair. But basically, the cross comes in from a Merida winger. Alvaro Raton, the Orense goalkeeper, comes out to clear it and to punch it, but instead he catches the attacker instead, and not with his fist or anything. He's just kind of like in the air, and it's one of those ones where he can't stop now. Once he's committed to being off the ground, he's going to be on a collision course with somebody. Takes the attacker out. The referee points straight to the penalty. And if you're going to give this penalty to anybody, Lee, you're going to give it to Alvaro Garcia, aren't you? Because he has been on electric form this season. He tidies it with a really nice finish. 11th goal of the season for him. And it wins 3-2 in the dynamics. 95th minute penalties. That's what we're all about here in El Podo, aren't we, Liam?
Yeah, I loved it. And how cool is that? I mean, he's done brilliant so far this season. Obviously, his confidence will be sky high, but still, 95th minute of the game, as you say, to win the game. Cool as you like, tucks it in the corner. Yeah, they're going to have some difficult decisions to make with him, aren't they? Because I would think that some Segunda club will probably be thinking about paying the release clause at some point. I think it's probably a little bit higher than normal, but I think it's probably only somewhere around 300,000 or 400,000, I would say, and that's quite a lot of money. But he's in such good form, isn't he? That you would probably, if you had any sort of money in your coffers to spend, and you were a Segunda side, you'd certainly think that was worth it. Even though, on the whole, Segunda clubs don't tend to spend much money on transfers. I think this guy is really good. I hope they don't find the money for him, because he's brilliant, isn't he? And he's crucial to what Merida have managed to achieve over the last 6 or 8 weeks. They've completely turned things around, haven't they? They've got a real head of steam going. Do you think they could realistically challenge Tenerife for the title, or are they too far away already?
Well, they're closer than they were. Let's put it that way, Liam. I think, from my perspective, they'll be up there. They're showing that they can play with confidence. I think, like, you're absolutely spot on. Keeping the likes of Garcia is very important. Cliff, if you're listening, get that checkbook out and get that contract extension signed, because he's very, very important for you. And whilst you're at it, can you sort out the camera position at the back of the stands at the Estadio Romana, because it's too far away from the pitch to watch this game. It needs to be closer. You've got a pretty decent stadium, so let's get a better camera position. But ultimately, Lynn, to answer your question the long way around, I think they can. I think Merida are really, really, as you said, hitting form, showing that they can beat teams. They're beating other form teams as well. So why not? Why can't they catch up to Tenerife? Tenerife are definitely going to be due another blip at some point this season. If Merida can keep the pace and strengthen in January, they'll be thereabouts.
Yeah, I think they're a great chance. There's so much about momentum here, isn't it? And they are on an absolute tear up at the moment. So let's see if they can keep that going. Next game that you recommended, goals in this one as well. Baracaldo 1, Real Avilés Industrial 2. Yet another fantastic victory for the boys from Asturias.
Yes, and it was the perfect start for Danny Vidal's men. He was the open scoring in the first 2 minutes. Berto Callega slotting in at the near post when basically a loose ball was turned into a cross. It was a 2-on-2 opportunity for the away side, an absolute gift from Baracaldo, and he just appeared at the far post, slotted in the cross at the near post, and Real Avilés were away. Not against the rudder play or anything. It's just a surprise that Baracaldo would be that blasé with the ball. It then became even more shocking when they went 2-0 up after just before the half-hour mark. Raul Rubio, who he scored a couple of goals so far this season, hasn't he, Liam? And he basically got offered a gift at the back post this time, where it's been flicked on by the Baracaldo defender, and he's just there to tap it in. So, again, I'm looking at this thinking, wow, like, Baracaldo recently been absolutely brilliant. They've beaten Tenerife at home, for example. Their form has kind of dropped off, and now they're 2-0 behind Real Avilés Industrial. It was a bit of a surprise, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. And Baracaldo have been superb on their own patch, haven't they? Really, really unexpected. I mean, Real Avilés Industrial, to be fair, been pretty good on the road, but recently they haven't fallen right off it, but they've been a little bit more inconsistent in recent weeks, as one would expect. They were certainly, for me, I think, overperforming for the first 10 games of the season. They've had a little bit of a couple of setbacks since then, but yeah, tremendous performance from them. Huidobro cut the deficit, didn't he, just for half time? Brilliant goal this. If you haven't seen this already, check this one out at 25 yards out, I think he is, and smashes one in off the post. But despite the fact they played against 10 men for quite a lot of the second half, didn't they? Because I think Kevin Bautista got sent off, didn't he? Got one booking in, and the second one is just ridiculous. I mean, he really can't make a challenge like that when he's on one booking, however accidental it was. You got to really be more careful in that situation, haven't you? So yeah, against 10 at that point. But of course, missing San Bartolome, weren't they? Which is a big loss for them, for Baracaldo, I mean. So yeah, they didn't really often threaten to get back on level terms, did they, in that last half an hour? And disappointing.
Yeah, I think that's what Inamel de la Sota will be looking at here, to think, well, if I haven't got my key man, where can I get other players to step up? And it does appear to be, which is a bit of a trend for a lot of Basque clubs at the moment, is just a lack of any kind of strikers, where they just can't seem to find people to put the ball in the net. They're relying on, playmakers and midfielders and wingers to do such a stuff. And without San Bartolome, it just seemed to be a lot of noise towards the Real Vilas industrial box. Obviously, the away side won't care. They're back to winning ways. They're also back in the playoff positions, which if you would have said to me, Liam, by the 9th of December, would Real Vilas industrial be in the playoff positions? I'd have said, absolutely not. You're absolutely daft. Look at the summer they've had, the size of the squad and things like that. But they continue to, really surprise and go above beyond what the pundits are saying. Baracaldo less so, only 1 win in 5 now, Liam. They've fallen back into mid-table, which, you don't want to see. I'm sure in this case they'll stick with the manager because they have got a lot of faith in De La Sota, so I'm not worried about him, potentially moving on. But something needs to change in Baracaldo to get back into form. Otherwise, they'll find themselves too far adrift from the playoffs to catch up in the long term, wouldn't they?
Yeah, disappointing turnout as well. There's a couple of the Baracaldo accounts have commented on this before. It felt like an absolute ghost town, didn't it? For this game, and they've got a decent side there, good to watch. And when they do have a decent turnout there, it's a great atmosphere inside the ground. A really poor attendance, I thought, and they deserve better. It's a good set of players, and they need a lift right now. As you say, they've hit a little bit of a bad spell, and let's hope that the fans find it in themselves. I know it's just down the road from Athletic Club, of course, but then so is Ernesto. So are lots of teams in the Basque Country, quite close to Athletic Club. You can't blame it all on that. They just need to. Baracaldo's a big conurbation in itself. They should be able to have better support. And as I say, I feel this current side deserves better support than they're getting at the moment at home.
Yes, and hopefully they'll turn that around sooner rather than later. Heading across to Galicia now, the third game I picked of the weekend was Lugo against Tenerife. This finished 2-2. Another week, Liam, another home side playing in their away kit. I assume this is to do with the clash that Tenerife have a white home shirt, and I think they've got a red away kit, so they couldn't clash with the red and white stripes of Lugo. Again, very bizarre to see them turn out in like a bit of a weird purple and green mesh kit, which is always a bit off-putting, especially for the home side. This, for me, Liam, was a real game of two halves. In the first half, you had Tenerife on top, not phased at all by the fact that Lugo have been unbeaten at the Fortress Ancho Carro this season. And it was actually Fabrico Assis, the Brazilian, that gave them the lead with some brilliant acrobatics from the corner. And then he doubled his tally 10 minutes later, just before half-time. Tenerife clearly then sort of like on the way to yet another victory, extending their lead at the top of the table. But this second half, Liam, it's a complete change of tact from Lugo, isn't it? And it's all going Lugo's way.
Yeah, it's quite interesting this one. I did start watching this game, and then Tenerife went 2-up, and I was like, you know what? I don't really need to spend my Sunday evening watching a routine Tenerife victory. So I must confess, listeners, viewers, I did at that point stop watching, and then I got a score update on the old app. Lugo won Tenerife 2, and I thought, you know what? I think I might start watching this again. And the last 25 minutes, Nick, were unbelievably good. I mean, Lugo were fantastic in that last 25 minutes. Absolutely threw the kitchen sink at it. But to be fair, once it went to 2-2, Tenerife did the same. It was just like two boxers standing in the middle of the ring, just slugging the hell out of each other. End to end, doesn't even begin to describe it. And both sides had chances to win it at 2-2. Really amazing game in terms of the last half an hour, and not really expected from the first 60 minutes, as you say. And brilliant comeback from Lugo. Quite like the penalty as well. Could you ever imagine doing that, Nick? I mean, I know it's quite de rigueur nowadays. Lots of penalty takers have used. I can't remember who first. It's probably somebody in Chelsea, someone who first did it. It's not particularly new, is it? But I just find that whole kind of hop, skip, and a jump penalty really. I just imagine me falling flat on my backside if I ever tried to do it.
I look at it as clearly Lugo and Iago Iglesias, he sent his team out to throw the kitchen sink at it. You've got yourself a penalty to potentially equalise against the dominant force in this league, the one of the highest spending teams in the division. Do you, Liam, decide to take a completely normal penalty, put your foot through it, and smash the back of the net to guarantee an equaliser, or do you do a hop, skip, and a jump? I think Unzueta here is actually a very brave man, because if he messes that up, then it's real egg on face territory, and we maybe don't get the spectacular finish to this match that we got. So I think it's brave, but fortune favours the brave Liam here, and it was a very, very nice penalty. So I will clap him for his cheeky conversion.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant converted, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those, I think, where they think that the skip means that they can, but I think if the keeper thinks he's going to the keeper's right and he dives to the right, I don't see how from that body angle you could put it in the other corner, if you know what I mean. I think the way he went, I don't think you could. I think, do you know what I mean? I think the whole point of the skip is to kind of like, that gives you a minute to see which way the keeper's going, and then you put it the other way. But if the keeper guesses and goes to his right, I think that he probably saves it, you know. And as you say, for me, I'm just gonna rubber smash it, you know. But he didn't, and who cares, you know, what I think, because it was brilliant execution, you have to say, regardless of you know, what I think of how his technique. And yeah, you're right, it then led to an absolutely insane last 10-15 minutes, and brilliant for Lube, of course. Yeah, no defeat still at Fortress Ansio, and another goal for Intueto is. He's not having a bad season at all there. They just need to sort of that away from, don't they? Because it's absolutely diabolical.
Yeah, again, another side that won't be far away if they manage to start picking up points on the road as well. Let's head over to Grupo Dos, Liam, starting with an all Andaluz affair. Marbella 1, Atlético Sanluqueño 0.
Yeah, first goal, first win for David Marbella. His third game in charge of Marbella. I think it might have been the outfit, don't you, Nick? Sharp dressed man. Senor Marbella did like that outfit. Reminded me
of back for success.
Exactly. Back in the day, Ruben Alves always caught mine and my co-host Alex Patrick's eye in I can't remember which team it was. That could have been Albacete in Segunda. I like the way he dressed, and I like a coach who dresses well on the touchline stylishly, because I could never put it off. So I'm always greatly in admiration of coaches who manage to do it, rather than the sort of jeans and t-shirt, which quite a few favour. Some sad news from the Marbella. Gabri, our friend from Yaclano Deportivo, he's picked up an injury. He's been out for about 6 weeks. I think he played in all 3 games, both the first 2 games will be in the last game in charge of his predecessor. So yeah, he's out for a while. Not a lot happened the first half for me. A couple of big calls from the officials. Again, this is the first instance I thought, you know, if both clubs looking to use FES to persuade the referee to give a red card to an opposition player. Marbella maybe at a point. I mean, Roger Rios was going through and he was taken out. I think it probably was a red card if it was a foul, but he does go down a bit easier. I love the fan near the because you can hear it, of course, because, you know, it's just it's, you know, Primera RFEF TV or whatever. You know, the camera's obviously quite near fans because the stadium's small. There's a guy in the crowd going, "It's clear. It's clearly a red. It's clearly a red. He's the last man." Sorry, mate, but the guy's got his headphones on. He can't hear you. But it's great to hear on the audio, you know, this guy just trying to convince the referee to set him if he didn't. Then I thought really poor from Atlético Sanluqueño trying to get, I think it was Jose Cambra, the young Marbella forward, sent off. And I don't think it was a foul. Eventually, the ref gave a yellow card, but they wanted a red clearly for it. And then Rodri Rios thought he put Marbella in front. Great acrobatics from a 35, but he's almost as old as you, Nick. Did you see that? Quite tremendous. The old
I can't do it.
I've never seen a footballer that old do it. So yeah, I was quite envious of that as well. Marbella and Rios causing me envy on the Marbella side of things. And then it looked like 0-0. And then a little bit of controversy about the winner, to be honest, Nick. Rios scrambled home the ball from close range. I thought there was the collision between a Marbella player and the visiting keeper. It meant the visiting keeper was flat on his back when Rios scored. You know, I don't think it was deliberate, but I think he probably could have still given a foul for it. He didn't. Marbella won. They stay in the Grupo Dos relegation zone, but they're now just 4 points from safety. And Marbella is off the mark and running. And let's see if he can build on that this weekend.
Yes, no, I think it's good for confidence for Marbella. I also liked how he dedicated this win to their kit man, whose mother died during the week as well. And you saw the videos at the end of him hugging that gentleman, and you can see he's also trying to nurture and bring together a culture at the club as well, which, to be honest, probably hasn't really ever been there at Marbella, because it is kind of has that fabricated feel to it sometimes, doesn't it? So yeah, great for him, great for Rodri Rios as well, because, you know, in a similar vein where we spoke about Real Murcia not playing to Flacos' strengths this season, I don't think Marbella have been playing to Rios' strengths so far this season either. And I think in the last few games you've seen them maybe go slightly more direct, aiming more for him as a proven goal scorer at this level. So again, I'm getting more of a sense from Marbella that actually, despite the fact that you finished the weekend in the relegation zone, they are moving in the right direction under Movia as well. And I'm quite impressed with him and the way he dresses as well. It's just a shame that the way I looked at it was, if he was in a big, massive 30,000 seat stadium, he'd look the absolute dog. It's very Pep Guardiola style. At the Banús Football Centre, he looks like he's turned up to Sunday League football in a suit, and that's not good for me, Liam. If I'm being perfectly honest, but fair play to him. He will persevere.
I'm sure he will. I hope it doesn't put him off. Next game, Sabadell 2, Ibiza 0. Incredible. 2 goals in 1 game at the Nova Croix Alta for Sabadell. That's double the tally for the entire season. 4 goals all season at home. Quite remarkable. But they've still lost 1 game, haven't they? One of these goals as well was in injury time right at the end, the penalty as well. So, yeah, they only got 1 at that stage. The first one, I actually cracks up about this because I thought of all the players. They say La Ley de Alex in Spain, that, a guy who comes and scores against the team he used to play for. Well, David Styles scores his first goal of the season just for half time for Sabadell. And then sort of looks really embarrassed. And I'm like, why is he looking so embarrassed about that? So I did a little look, and he's actually on loan from Ibiza. He's not even like a former Ibiza player. He's actually on loan from Ibiza. And quite often in these situations, they're not allowed to play against the club that they've been loaned from, are they? But he clearly was allowed. There was no clause written in that said he couldn't, and he scores the opening goal. He just looked like, they're often players don't celebrate against their former clubs, do they? But he's actually still Ibiza's player. So it was even
probably
more
still being paid by him as well.
Well, I imagine that 8% of his wages at the very least. Yeah, it was quite bizarre. I've rarely seen that happen, to be honest, because, as I say, usually one of the stipulations is you can't play against the team that's loaning you, out to the team that's taking advantage of that, isn't it? But yeah, Sabadell, they don't score many at home and they draw a lot of games, but they're a point behind the leaders, Athletic Bay. I mean, you never know how far they can take this, really, do you? I really like Ferran Costa as the coach. And yeah, if they can score a few more goals at home and continue in this current vein, it's a bit like Real Avilés Industrial, isn't it? In Group 1, you never would have thought at the start of the season. I thought they'd finish above halfway, but I never thought they'd be a top 5 contender. And really, as we get close to the halfway mark of the season, you have to say that they are.
Yes, and we are spurring them on to keep continuing to cut that deficit with Athletic Bay at the top of the league as well. And the floodgates have opened now, Liam. The home stadium is going to be goals, goals, goals. So I think we definitely need to try and get our visit in for January to catch some of those. Your last game of the weekend, which was actually on a Monday, because if you weren't aware, it was. I don't think it's a bank holiday, but it's like a public holiday in Spain, wasn't it? So everyone had Monday off, plenty of football going on around Spain. And here we have one of the derbies of the league. It is the Derby Cartagena. Is that the way we say it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yes. Cartagena 0, Real Murcia 1. What an occasion, Liam.
Oh, you've done so well for so many weeks, and then you called them Cartagena again, didn't you?
And I even got Cartagena out there.
It's just the excitement of talking about a derby, isn't it? I'm too no, anyway, listen, you're absolutely right. It's a tremendous occasion. 2,500 Real Murcia fans in the stadium. Obviously, it's a very, very short journey from Murcia to Cartagena. There's no distance at all. So, yeah, sea of red behind the goal, weren't there? It was quite a tremendous sight. And of course, that was where the goal was scored. And I've said before, I love it when the goals are scored where the fans are, of that particular team. And what a moment this is as well for Hector Perez. He's only 19, centre-half. Hasn't scored all season. He's a local boy. He was born just down the road in Alicante. And, yeah, what a moment for him. I mean, just what a way to score, your first goal of the season. I don't know if it's his first goal for the senior team. I think it is. I don't think he's played for them before this season. So his first ever goal for a massive club like Real Murcia in a massive derby in front of 2,500 of your fans at an away game. That's quite tremendous, isn't it? I mean, overall, it was a brilliant game, I thought. For a 1-0, I've seen a lot worse 3-alls, to be honest, Nick. Really good stuff. Cartagena were a bit unlucky to lose. I thought Gaffani was tremendous in the Murcia goal. There were plenty of other chances at the other end as well. Plenty of good situations, real end-to-end stuff. And so really the only negative for me was it was absolutely shambolic the way that Cartagena failed miserably to get a good proportion of the visiting fans into the stadium by kickoff. I know that lots of fans in many countries around the world arrive late, just before the kickoff, but you know, you should be able to cope with it. If they know that's happening, then get a few more, get a few more turnstiles open and sort it out. Many Murcia fans missed the kickoff. But, apart from that, I thought it was a brilliant advert for Primera RFEF. The kind of game that could easily be played in Segunda, in terms of the occasion itself. So a real treat to have it in Primera RFEF, and it lived up to expectations.
Yes, absolutely. Colunga Ball is still firm and foremost at the front of my mind here, and those limbs behind the goal, Liam, like you say, you won't often see limbs like that in Primera RF, to be fair. So those 2,500 Real Murcia fans were rewarded for their dedication following just a short journey down the road to Cartagena. Let's have a look at some of the other results, starting with Friday night. It was down at the Estadio Jesus Navas. It was Sevilla Atletico 1, Nastic de Tarragona 2. A win that takes the visitors into the top 5 at the time, Liam, which again is brilliant to see. And Paul Martinez, who we tipped for a very good season at the beginning of the season, now 2 goals and 2 for him.
Yeah, it was at Unionistas last season, wasn't it? And as a squad, they were pretty awful, to be fair. He was one of the few standout players. I really liked in this game the look of Juan de Fuentes as well. He's a Colombian. He's probably a winger, I think, but he could play wing back as well. He's another one that's on loan from Andorra. Andorra seems to have a few players out on loan in this division at the moment. He set up the second for Marc Montalvo. Brilliant. He just absolutely burned off the defender, who was way ahead, and he got there first and delivered across in the byline, and Montalvo tucked it away at the near post, and that was enough to win the game. I think Alex Costa, former Ponfe player, scored one for Sevilla Atletico in the second half, but I thought overall Nastic deserved the win. Hércules 2, Juventud de Torremolinos 1. A remontada. We had a few remontadas this weekend, didn't we? Tell us a bit more about this one.
Yeah, it was probably very tough on the away side, Torremolinos, because the red card, I don't know about you, Liam, I thought it was quite harsh for Daniel Hernandez. And is this another instance of other teams trying to get players sent off using the dark arts, so to speak? It wasn't a good look for him, was it?
No, again, this is another example, as you rightly point out, of this kind of, it's not a red card. It's a yellow card. It's not a red card. I just think it's a really, really poor decision. And I just think it's really distasteful, as I said before. I just don't like to see it. If there's a real obvious mistake for the ref because they have a poor view of something, but this is just like putting them under pressure to make a decision that really should never have been made in the first place. And they didn't make it. So yeah, I don't like it, and I see them stand their ground a lot on penalty decisions. And again, we're going to talk about one later on, which for me, he shouldn't have done. They seem to be more, happy to uphold their original decision on penalties, which is often no penalty, and they stick to their guns. But when it comes to, especially this weekend, although a few didn't, this is one of the times when they basically got a player sent off here, and I just don't like to see that at all. Overall, I like Hércules as a club. There's nothing against them personally. I just don't like to see any club try to use this particular tactic. But they won the game. They won't care about that at all. Fransol equalised, didn't he? And then Rafael de Palmas smashed home the winner. And I thought visiting keeper in this game had a really decent game. And made a few decent saves and really deserved again to be, at least going home with a point from this one, but they didn't. And Hércules under better company roar on, don't they? They're really picking up some form now.
Yeah, just onto the edge of the playoffs, I believe now, if I remember rightly. And Rafael de Palmas, you definitely search your own name, sir. Gave us a cheeky like for his goal highlights too. So, but what a goal that was. Up to Galicia for a very local Galician derby. Just 25 minutes between these two cities. Celta Fortuna 1. Pontevedra 2. They used Balados for this, Liam. Obviously, the big stadium in Vigo for the B team. They've used it a couple of times, to be fair, which I know we don't like filiales, Liam, but I do like it when they do let them play in the big boy stadium.
I don't know. I'm not sure myself, Nick. I don't like to see a very small crowd rattling around a very big stadium. I've never been a big fan of it. But to be fair, in this situation, Pontevedra, obviously newly promoted to Primera Federación, although they haven't been away for that long, but still a big game for them. They were always going to bring a decent following from just down the road. And, the Celta Fortuna's normal home ground is pretty basic. So it was a no-brainer really to move it there. And another remontada, wasn't it? A remontada that we particularly like this one. Am I right in thinking that no filiales won this weekend, Nick?
No filiales won this weekend. It was absolutely beautiful, wasn't it?
Yeah, very enjoyable indeed.
Especially
And
when we get rage baited on Twitter by people who aren't even fans of the filiales, but then say that your league is being dominated by one of them. And it really, I don't often respond to trolls on online, Liam, but I had to really, and I'm sure we'll come on to it later. Stick
yeah,
the
I'm
knife
sure
in
it
there,
will.
but
Yeah, I was
great to see.
fully behind you responding on this occasion. Yeah, I mean, this is a decent. I mean, Oscar Marcos is an interesting one. He's got 3 and 3 for Celta Fortuna. He was on the first team bench for that Copa del Rey game that they played in Catalonia last week against. It was against San Andrea, wasn't it? I think. And yeah, he didn't get on. But this is a lovely finish. His passes in the corner, really good goal. And then Ponfe hit back before half time, and Bryce Aralenda scored a penalty in the second half. And brilliant. You know, I mean, they were second going into this match, weren't they? Celta Fortuna and Pontevedra. That's a brilliant win. And I think I kind of feel like if you support Pontevedra and you've got Vigo just down the road, this is a really nice one, isn't it? You know, because I'm sure quite a few people in Pontevedra do support Celta Vigo. So if you're sticking with your hometown team and you go to the big stadium, regardless of how full it is, and you win after being 1-0 down, that's got to be pretty cool, hasn't it? Really, I'm sure James was there. I'm sure he loved it.
Yes, absolutely. And this duo of Abalenda and Ribeiro just scoring goals for fun. This is exactly what you need, especially as a newly promoted side. And these two just seem to be dragging their side towards safety and potentially even better than that. No, Selma again this week.
I think he came off the bench. He's back in the squad. I've noticed. I think he came on midweek against Eibar in the Copa del Rey. So yeah, I think we've kind of, I think the olive branch has been extended here. He got a pretty bad reception when he came on against Eibar. I think he came off the bench in this one as well. So yeah, he's involved again. But yeah, I mean, he's not a bad striker, and obviously we know why he's not been in the team is because he took a penalty twice when he was told not to. But yeah, you make a good point here is that, the teams do need, we were talking earlier on, weren't we, about Baracaldo's dependence on San Bartolome for a bit deeper, and Abalenda and Ribeiro are two players that aren't out and out centre forwards, are they? So, the goals that they're chipping in with here are absolutely crucial. And yeah, I mean, as with so many sides who've just been recently promoted, I suspect, as always, the first aim is survival, but it's such a tight league in both Grupo 1 and Grupo 2 that you never know. They could string a few results together and suddenly be dreaming of going even higher, couldn't they? Two teams that really want to go higher because they've been higher fairly recently, one very recently, Alcorcón 1, Eldense 1. Tell us a bit about this one.
Yeah, I think the home side will feel like they should have won this. They created, more than enough chances to do so, and it was quite an interesting and probably positive result for Eldense here. Movember is over, but Luis Vacas is sporting an all-year-round mustache now. Liam, he is. We like a mustache here in El Podo, don't we? But it's not a lucky charm or anything. He scored in the last 2 home games. This is a really decent game overall, I thought. And I think the result is fair. But like I said, I think Alcorcón will have thought they could have pipped it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a few games of this side, Alcorcón this season, a few Eldense games as well that were fairly underwhelming, if I'm perfectly honest. This was a really good one. I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a really decent end-to-end game. Plenty of chances, you say. I think overall Alcorcón shaded probably on clear-cut chances. But yeah, it just felt like a pretty high-quality game, and I think both these sides are still really very much in the picture for at least making the top 5, and both sides will take some positives from this. Cacereño 0, Racing de Ferrol 1 after their finally breaking their bad run last week in Cacereño. They came and stuck in against the visitors from Galicia in this one.
Yes, it did. An important win for Racing Ferrol, who, we've all tipped to be a challenger for Tenerife. They are up there, but they just haven't really looked convincing all season so far. But like you say, as long as you can grind out the results and get the wins at home and pick up points where you're going to be thereabouts, still managed to pick up all 3 points thanks to a golazo from Alvaro Juan. Just 12 minutes of normal time remaining, but a very good win here, and obviously disappointing for Cacereño, who couldn't back up that result last weekend against Talavera. Speaking of who, also lost this weekend against another relegation rival, Arentera 1, Talavera 0. The boys from Galicia claiming the spoils in this relegation 6-pointer. And Mingo back on the score sheet, Liam, linked with Cádiz this week. He's in the window, isn't he?
You love saying that, don't you? Mingo.
I do. Mingo.
It's your favourite name player in Quebec, isn't it? You just love it. And he's scored again, which is a bit worrying for you because he might then be leaving us. But no, he has had a really long bounce spell, hasn't he? I think he hasn't scored for a couple of months. I mean, you're not that tired, and he scored 5 and 5 or something, and I think it's 2 months since he last scored. So yeah, importantly, it's the first win for Jorge Cuesta, isn't it? The new, well, relatively new anyway. And Taylor coach, he said 2 games, no goals, no points. Bit like David Movilla down at Marbella, but he's now off the mark as well, won this game, and that took him off the bottom of Grupo Uno, and it meant that Talavera hit the bottom. So Sandrone, as you say, from winning a game against Malaga in the week, which is set up a game against Real Madrid in the next round, which, by the way, is only 10 days away, so he hasn't got long to get ready for that one. But yeah, he's also looking up at a number of teams, around about 19 in total, that are above him in the Grupo Uno table, and that's obviously got to be his priority, is to get back into the land of safety, quite a way above where he is right now.
I wonder, Liam, whether we could be on for a Talavonasa in 10 days' time, in reference to the Alcoconata to what would it be, about 15 years ago now, wouldn't it? So fingers crossed that Sandrone can get them playing and get a result against the big boys, who are obviously in fine fettle themselves at the minute under Xabi Alonso, who might not even be there himself, Liam, who knows. But even better news, Arenas Club de Getxo back at Gobela, putting one to the near neighbours. Obviously, again, this is another derby of some sorts where, the local side are playing the base team of the big boys. Arenas de Getxo 3, Bilbao Athletic 1. Brilliant win, this, isn't it?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, we know they're good in front of their own fans in Gobela. They've got a great record. They finally lost an unbeaten record, didn't they, a couple of games ago against Tenerife. But, Bilbao Athletic come to this game 4 games in a row that they'd won coming into this game, and they deservedly lost this one, and brilliant stuff from a team with very modest means. I was delighted to see my man Alex Hidalgo on the score sheet again, delighted to see Baba also on the score sheet. Another game in which the opposition tried and failed to get an opposition player sent off. Baba booked, and then they tried to make it a red, and thankfully the referee held firm. Angel Troncho is an interesting one in this game, Nick, for me. I saw a little bit of Eibar. I thought he looked all right. That was, of course, in Segunda. He's clearly had to step down to come to a club of, even more modest means than Eibar at this level. He's mostly been on the bench. I'm not sure if he meant this first goal. If he did, it's an absolutely genius. If it isn't, then who cares? Because he's off the mark. And I think he also had an assist for the Baba goal because he had the original shot, I think. So, yeah, pleased for him. Let's hope he can push on now and have a bit of run in the team and get a few goals for them. And Arenas de Getxo are now 3 points outside the top 5. A few weeks ago, talking about them being, in the relegation zone. They've won 3 and drawn 1 of the last 5. And that is the way this league works, doesn't it, Nick? If you can put a few wins together, then all of a sudden, from being basically looking going down to Segunda RF, you're looking up, possibly going higher. And that's how it's going to be, I think, for the rest of the season. It's just going to be ebbing and flowing, isn't it? But delighted to see Arenas de Getxo in a little bit of form after they went on a fairly torrid run in October, November.
Yes, definitely. Always good to see those guys doing well, and fingers crossed they carry on doing so up until the point where they may or may not have to leave Gobela in January. News still remains to be seen there. The next game, I will revel in this one. Algeciras 1, Atletico Madrileño 0. An excellent and fully deserved win for Javi Vasquez's side against the league leaders. My advice, stay quiet, Liam. Stay quiet.
Absolutely this is, of course, the references to the aforementioned troll, isn't it? And yeah, you're absolutely right. He totally deserves this. They played really well, Algeciras. They are good at home. They've won their last 4 now in the Estadio Nuevo Mirador. And yeah, I think to me, one of the best players on the pitch was the visiting keeper. Esquivel, I thought, had a really decent game. Couldn't keep out Danny Garrido's beautiful left foot curler. Not good goals again this week, weren't there? A real good selection of fantastic goals from outside the box. We'll come to an even better one later on, I think. But yeah, I mean, for me, they totally deserve the win. They also should have had a penalty second half. This is one of the ones I'm talking about, that sometimes it's an absolutely stonewall penalty, and they play their card, and ask the referee to have a look at it. It's clearly a penalty. What I find quite amusing as well is that the highlights, which are presumably created by Primera RFEF, the actual league itself, kind of basically essentially kind of freeze framed the moment at which the Athletic B defender basically chops down the Algeciras players, if to say, yeah, you got it completely wrong. If I would have thought they'd be kind of like protecting their own, but they didn't at all. They threw him under the bus. He should have given a penalty. At the end, it didn't matter. But yeah, delighted to see Atletico Madrileño go down in this one. And yeah, so our advice to the Athletic troll is stay quiet, please.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And then another filial we hope stays quiet is Real Madrid Castilla this weekend, drawing 2-2 away to Zamora. Another result that we really, really liked, especially considering that Zamora were losing 2-1 and down to 10 men in the 89th minute. Again, one of these ridiculous sendings offs where we've had the yellow card upgraded to a red after a Castilla appeal. And then, like I say, this equaliser sent Ruta de la Plata into the rafters, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's just hilarious, isn't it? Toys out of the pram yet again from this really dislikable club. They got a really, really lucky decision. The first one looks like a clear penalty to me, a handball in the box. Referee doesn't give it. I think it's more a penalty than when he does give. But, they just to come out after and go, again, we've got nobody likes us. Everyone gives us all the bad decisions. Like, what are you talking about? You got a player sent off in this game. You're not alone in that. We've mentioned a few other clubs that have managed to do this, but it's no way of sending off. You got away with one in the first half. You might feel a little bit hard done by that. The second one, well, it's debatable, shall we say at best. But, shut up. Really tired of Real Madrid Castilla and the people behind them, and obviously the big, the big controlling force, the mother load, whatever you want to call it, making all the calls about how they whinge and how often they win. It's just horrible. Just shut up. Get on playing your football. The 2-2 was about right overall. You got a few breaks and you had possibly one decision that went against you.
Woe is me, as they see him. Woe is me, and obviously great to see them mess that up with so little time to go. Down to El Mauli next. Antequera 2, Betis Deportivo 1. The return of Javi Medina, but a win at the start of the Abraham Paz era. Quite a satisfactory outcome for all involved here from an Antequera perspective. Another goal and an assist from Mohabastel. Really on fire at the moment. I really did enjoy someone on Twitter calling him Bass Panther, which I think is a nod to the Marvel film, but a really nice finish from outside. I really did. A really nice finish from outside the area as well. That's 2 wins on the spin for Antequera now, and a great start for the new manager.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And they're out of the bottom 5 at last, aren't they? And Medina is deep in the mess, isn't he? 10 points of safety. And Betis Deportivo. And you always think with these ones, well, it's more the process than the results, isn't it? But surely he must be in a little bit of pressure here. It's been such a miserable season. I will watch that space in terms of possibly one more managerial casualty in the not too distant future. Guadalajara 1, Osasuna Promesas 0. What a week for this club. The boys in purple finally won a league game. First time since 19th of September, Nick. Salifa was back. They have missed him so badly, haven't they? He's such a good player for them up front. He's really a talismanic figure for one so young, and only, don't forget, on loan from Tenerife. He really is a big player for them. I think David Amigo's done really well for them recently. He scored the win this one. Interesting as well. Fair play to the referee. Tharco sent off in this one, the Guadalajara keeper, and they appealed it. And rightly, the referee overturned his decision. It didn't look to me like Tharco handled it. I think he was sent off for a handball outside the box. It looked like that was a bad call from the referee, and he was big enough to admit that it was after looking at the replay. So that was a bit of a break for them. Another filial defeated, and Guadalajara, what a week they've had. Just lined up a clash with Barcelona and finally managed to get a win in the league as well. And to complete the misery, he says with glee, for the filiales, Villarreal B 1, Teruel 2, another remontada. Talk us through this one.
Yes, it was another remontada, as you say. They were 1-0 down with just 4 minutes to go, Liam. And then our friend and yours, Teddy, he pops up with an equaliser, I believe, on the 88th minute, was it? A really good finish and a really good celebration as well. We obviously put it out there as a meme to say we need to hang it in the Louvre because he's on his knees with the number 10 on his back. That's what we want to see. And then, out of nowhere, Alvaro Merencio won it for Teruel in the 91st minute. Incredible spirit from Teruel, who haven't been playing too well recently. Just 1 point and 1 goal in the last 4 games. But to make the short trip down the hill, I think it's only about an hour and 10 minutes from Teruel to Villarreal, and sticking it to a filial on the home stadium. You love to see it, don't you?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Delighted for them, as you say, really poor form recently, and that was a big win for them. Another remontado that didn't lead to a win, but it was still a point that Unionistas earned from a fairly miserable position. Unionistas 2, Ponferradina 2. Medinafti, obviously, recently took the hot seat there at Ponferradina. They were 2-0 up after less than half an hour. Looked a really good bet to go on and win this game. But Victor Olmedo, former Yeclano Deportivo players, we always like to mention when Victor Olmedo scores. What a goal! I know he's their penalty takers, so he has got a few because of that, but this is a stunning volley from about 25 yards out. Absolutely brilliant. Let's not forget, Almeida's not a forward. That's an absolutely brilliant goal. Gaston Valles, we've mentioned several times in recent weeks, he scored from the penalty spot to make it 2-2. He then slightly blocked his copybook because he got sent off late on, didn't he? Second yellow card, I think, in added time. So that's a great shame. I'll miss him big time this weekend because he's in really good form. But yeah, great comeback again. And you just, Manny Simon, I know they lost against Orense a couple of weeks ago, but my word, quite tremendous what he's doing there, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see that he's really building momentum. But I think the most important thing with Unionistas is obviously being a fan-owned club as well, is he's got the backing of the crowd. And I don't know if you saw the video, Liam, of the players going towards that end of the Sofia Arena where the sort of like the ultras sit, and just the applause and the jubilation they were getting from you can see there's a real closeness in the squad now. And when you can get results like this, let's not forget Medinafti is a new manager. I thought it was quite impressive that they went 2 goals up, and I thought that Ponfe actually played better than they had done in more recent weeks. Seemed to play with a bit more purpose for me in this game. But this is a great turnaround from Unionistas, and obviously that Victor Olmedo goal, I think I renamed it a Golmedo rather than a golazo. So we'll definitely want to see a few more of them. And then to end the weekend on, Liam, 2 sides that we have both come to enjoy this season. Tarazona 0, Europa 0. Another clean sheet from the host side, still undefeated in the Municipal Tarazona. And against a team in the top 5, there's no shaking against that, is there?
No, they just struggle to score goals in Tarazona. That's their biggest problem. But yeah, brilliant result for them. As you say, yet another clean sheet. They've kept plenty of those on their own patch this season. And that point keeps them just outside the relegation zone, which is great. Obviously, that will be their aim overall, just to stay up this season. And at the moment on course, and Europa is still not as convincing away from home as they are at home, but still a decent point at a very difficult place to get a good result. My 3 games to watch this weekend: Grupo 1, Real Avilés Industrial against Tenerife, Saturday at 6:30 p.m. On Sunday at 4 p.m, Racing Ferrol against Unionistas, 4 p.m. on Sunday that was. And sorry, did I just say that? And then at 6:15 on Sunday, Pontevedra against Arenas de Getxo. So 3 games that I'm really looking forward to. And what about Group 2? You've got some good ones in there, haven't you?
Yes, absolutely. Starting with then All Costa del Sol derby. You know how much I love things All Costa del Sol. It's Juventud Torremolinos against Marbella at El Pozuelo, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. Then jumping to the evening, those Real Murcia fans who so jubilantly celebrated on Monday will be up against Sabadell, who have proved to be very, very astute away from home as well. That's going to be a fantastic game in the Nueva Condemira at 9 o'clock on Saturday night. And then fast forward to Sunday evening, it is Nacional Tarragona against Cartagena, 6:15 on that evening. Again, proving to be quite a good matchup there. I think that's got the potential to either be 0-0 or 3-3, yet to be decided. Anything happening on the Spanish Segunda this week, Liam, that we should keep an eye out for?
Well, I thought we might talk about last weekend, don't you think? Maybe? Or maybe not.
We don't need to. We don't need to.
I think as a Malaga fan, I'm a Real Zaragoza fan, and Real Zaragoza equalised in the 95th minute against Malaga. But yeah, so like, how can we top that this weekend? I'm not sure. But yeah, it will be a decent weekend as always. There'll be plenty of good football to watch, some cracking games on the horizon. So I'll fit those in around Primera Federación. There'll be a lot of football watch, I suspect, in Casablanca this weekend.
Absolutely perfect. That sounds brilliant. I'll say thank you to you once again, Liam, for joining me to talk about all things Primera Federación.
It's been a pleasure as always, Nick.
No problem. I'll say gracias to you guys at home. Make sure to go and like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast from. It really helps get the voice, not just for our benefit, but also letting more people know about the wonderful world of El Pozo and the third tier of Spanish football. Go follow us on social media to keep up to date with highlights and news and all sorts of stuff. It's a great source of information if you want to see more about your teams there. But for now, I'll say thank you once again. We'll see you next week. Hasta luego.